Welcome to the Eagle Coaches Show on the Baptist Prep Sports Network, where we give you a behind-the-scenes look into everything Baptist Prep athletics. Now, let's get right into the show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Eagle Coaches Show. We are once again joined today by Coach Perrin. Coach, 5 games under the belt, 3-2 record to start off the year. So we're going to talk a little bit about that first game night in the freezing cold against Mills that ended in a 14-3 victory. But I just wanted to give you the opportunity to tell us a little bit about what your thoughts were the first game of the year.
Sure. Well, it was a very cold night, and that may be an understatement to what it really was, because it was very miserable as out there on the field, and I know the players were cold. Matter of fact, even the lights, as they started to warm up, ice were falling off the lights as the game was about to start. So it was a really cold night, but I was very happy with how our guys handled that adversity and didn't use that as an excuse for the whole night. Just looking here, yes, we came out with the victory 14-3. We had 10 hits. We did have a couple of errors, but that's kind of expected as a first game, and also with the temperature that we had. We did hit one extra base hit. It was the only extra base hit of the game, and that was from Jackson Mullen. Jackson had a really, really, really good game for us that night. He was 3 for 3 with an RBI, got walked one time, and, of course, had to double, as I said, and then a few stolen bases to go with that. Pitching for us, it was very good for where we were at to start the year. Limiting walks, making teams put the ball in play, or making the Mills put the ball in play. And really, really happy with how we started the season, even for a benefit game, but just how we seemed really energized, just being able to play somebody else and not having to play against your own team. And we were able to battle through the cold and come out with a victory at Little Rock Mills.
So going into this preseason, there was a lot of excitement revolving around the pitching staff, and there was also some uncertainty revolving around the pitching staff. But they came out in game one and were dealing.
Yeah. Saw a lot of good things. Grayson Chapman started on the mound for us against Little Rock Mills. He had a really good 2 innings for us, low pitch count, threw a lot of strikes. I think he walked maybe one. I don't think he even gave up a hit. And then Hunter Sherrill came in, I believe 2 more innings as well, struck out 5, had just 1 walk as well. And then Malachi Jones came in to finish off the last inning and had a strikeout for him as well. So we were able to save a lot of arms, but also kind of get some guys' feet wet, so to speak, and get the season rolling.
It was a really exciting way to start off the season, but it was on the road. So then, you have a great 14-3 victory against Mills, and then you have your first home game showing off some of the improvements made around the facility like we talked about in the previous episode, and we were able to have some home fans. Mm-hmm. So that second game was against Quitman that ended up being a 13-6 victory. So tell us a little bit about that night.
Yeah, first and foremost, we were ecstatic about the number of fans that we had at this game. We could hear them cheering and feel like their presence was felt. But just looking at this up and down, our pitching wasn't great this night. I think there was a lot of nerves with it being at home, being the first official game that actually counted towards something. So I think as pitchers, we put ourselves in a hole, whether it's getting behind in the count or starting the inning off with a walk. But we were able to settle in on the mound thanks to Cooper. Cooper O'Brien was able to give us a little over 3 innings, only giving up 1 hit, 1 run, and then struck out 6. And so he kind of calmed things down as the game was going back and forth for a while. Just looking here, I know Quitman scored 3 in the first, and we responded with 2, which I was really happy to see our guys just understand that, hey, we just need to scratch a run here, 1 or 2 runs here to get back in this ball game. And they did that. And then second inning went out and got a 0 and then scored 1 in the bottom of the second. Next thing we know, it's 3-3. And then we have our big inning in the third where we scored 8 runs. And from there, we kind of just ran away with it, finishing the game 13-6, as you said, with 6 hits. Had a couple errors in the field, but there was a lot of things that were cleaned up from the Little Rock Mills game to this game, so we were happy to see that. Offensively, just looking here, Jackson Mullen 2 for 3 with an RBI, hit a double. Isaac Devine 2 for 5, 2 RBIs, also had a double. And then Big O Cooper had 2 stolen bases for the night. and Jeff Brown had one as well, and so did Blake Brown. They each had one. We were able to get walked 15 times that night. So we were patient at the plate. We didn't force anything. We only struck out 6 times, and I think a couple of those were kind of that borderline strike that could have gone either way for the call. So I was really pleased with our at-bats that night. But on the flip side, as our pitching staff, as I mentioned, Cooper calmed things down. But as a staff, we also walked them 15 times. And we talked about that being what separated that game, or what could have separated that game even more with limiting those walks. I think earned runs, I think we still had 12, and I think they only had 1, if that. So that was kind of our focus going into our next game, which was going to be really important against McCrory. Just understanding how to attack the zone and let our defense play behind them.
And I think it's important to point out that we, went to Mills and beat them, and since they have won 3 games, they're 3-1 on the season. So that's a pretty good win. And then Quitman, we beat them 13-6, and they followed that up with a big win, I think a day or two after that. But for me, it was exciting to be there and in the first inning see, losing a lot of the hitting that was here last year, to get down 3-0 at the very, very beginning of the game in the first inning, and then to see, how the guys responded and how we overcame some early adversity to really take control of that game. That was awesome to see.
And I'll brag on the guys in this. There hasn't been a point this season that I felt like there was a panic button hit. I felt like it was, hey, let's just regroup and let's just go to the next pitch, next at bat, which we've been trying to preach to them, and they've completely bought into that. And so it's been a really good start so far.
100%. And if there was ever a time to potentially hit a panic button, would have been the Thursday following the Quitman game at a certain point in the game, which I'll let you discuss in just a second. But we followed the Quitman game after a 2-0 start, going to McCrory, who was ranked number 1 in 2A and number 39 in the entire state of Arkansas, with multiple college commits, as Coach said in the previous podcast. So that was a really, really fun game to come out on top 5-4. But tell us a little bit about that game and the moment that we were just talking about when the panic button could have been.
Sure. Going to McCrory, it's about an hour and a half from here, and so we had the commute to the field. And just looking at the McCrory baseball players, they're very physical, very athletic, strong. They look the part. They definitely carry the number 1 title for 2A very well from a view standpoint. But I was really, really happy with how things started. This was McCrory's first game, so you knew they were going to be excited for opening day. But we came out. We kept our demeanor, kept our poise, and went right into scoring in the first inning. We put up 2 runs. I think Blake Brown started things off with a hit by pitch. Jackson came up with a single, and then one thing that was really good to see is Hunter Sherrill coming through with the bat with 2 big hits to kind of keep passing things around to the guy that ended up being what I would say the player of the game with Isaac Devine. And I'm just looking here, 3 for 4, 2 RBIs. It seemed like we had runners on every time we needed his bat, and he was able to deliver. So it went 2-0, and we sent Isaac out there to the mound, which was great to see. I know he's been suffering just some arm health issues last year, and then, of course, the year before that was COVID. And so being able to see him on the mound, I think, really just brought a lot of energy for our guys, knowing that they were able to be behind him and help him out. And he goes out there in the first inning, and, gosh, I want to say it was strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. And quickly got their attention to let them know that we were here to play, and our guys realized that we deserved to be there and deserved the opportunity that we had. Moving on through the game, it's pretty quiet till about the 4th inning. We put up another 3 spot, making it 5-0, and really starting to separate ourselves. But with any good baseball team or any good team in general, they're going to have a chance to make a run at some point. And they responded, I think, in the bottom of the 5th, putting up 3 runs. But Grayson Chapman came in once again and was outstanding on the mound. He came in, I believe, bases loaded, gave up 1 run, struck out 2 or 3 guys, and got out of that mess that we were in the 5th. Pushed to the 6th inning. We weren't able to score. They scored 1, had bases loaded again, and Grayson worked out of that as well. We did have a play at the plate. Isaac Devine was at first base, made a great throw to Henry. Henry got a great tag on the guy to end the inning. And so that pushed us to the seventh inning. Seventh inning, we did have the bases loaded, but we're unable to scratch a run. So it's sitting at 5-4, heading to the bottom of the seventh. And as a coach or even as a player, just the importance of the first batter, getting them out. It was loud. It was loud there from their fans. It was loud there from their dugout. And so we knew the importance of getting that first guy out. If we didn't, it could quickly have gone the other way. But Grayson was able to get a ground ball to Cooper. Cooper fielded it clean, made a great throw. And then from there, we kind of just knew that we had it in the bag, and Grayson was able to finish things up on the mound for us. And I think it ended with a ground ball to Hunter, made a good throw to first, and that was all she wrote. But very happy just looking through here. We had, 3 guys with multiple hits. We had guys just even in the lower part of the order. We got walked 6 times. And things that can't be taken away. Isaac, what he did on the mound, 4 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts. He was outstanding. Grayson, 3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 run, 0 earned, 2 walks, with 6 strikeouts to go with that as well. So our pitching definitely carried us in that game, and then, of course, having that timely hit here and there when we needed it. And so I was ecstatic for our guys. Our guys were excited, but what was really good to see is our guys kind of carried it out afterwards, like, hey, we expected to win, coach, and they're starting to embrace that, and very happy to see that on such a tough, difficult night for us.
And then you have a good 3-0 start to the year, and then you run into the number 4 team in the state in Bentonville West, a team that has a school that has well over 2,000 students in just the high school. And we're 400 K through 12. Mm-hmm. So it was definitely an interesting matchup, and also with another top 25 team in Farmington this past Saturday in Fayetteville.
Yes, and the good thing about games like this is it lets you know some detailed things that you really need to work on to improve for the rest of the year. And it also kind of gives you a test to see where are we at mentally. Can we handle this? And the scores don't reflect some of the positive things that we saw, but I was happy for us to face the pitching that we faced. We faced some really good arms up there, and some guys that played solid defense that really made you earn everything. And with that being said, we started the first inning off of Bentonville West, bases loaded, just weren't able to scratch a run, but it showed that our guys were not going to back down. We're ready to fight. And then we had just a few hiccups on the field and bottom to first. And next thing we know, we find ourselves down big. And so as the guys came off the field, we challenged them to respond and show that they belong on the same field. And they did that by putting up a 2-spot. And from there, it was just, Bentonville West is from 1 through 9. It's just a hard out everywhere. And so they were able to put up a few more runs, but we were able to scratch another one. Now, obviously, the score didn't reflect what we wanted it to, but it was 16-3 was the final. But I was excited to see the guys respond to adversity and not play the blame game and really just say, hey, who cares? Let's move on and flush it and get better. Offensively, I've mentioned Isaac's name a lot. He was 2 for 3 against Bentonville West. Cooper had a really nice double to center that, probably at most ballparks, it probably would have left the yard. Really great swing from him. And then Henry was able to get a base hit. And so there were several guys starting to figure things out with the bat that's really encouraging, especially against the arms we saw in that game.
So what do you think the result will be of playing games where you may seem to be completely outmatched on paper come later in the year?
Sure. I think the biggest thing, too, is we want to see growth from those games. If we ever play Bentonville West and Farmington again, we want to close the gap on the scoreboard and show improvement. And I think when you look at the guys that we have that are in their first year of baseball or coming from another sport and just now kind of getting into the mix of things, I think that we really have a huge room for growth in what we can do for the year. And we're seeing it every day just as guys make improvement in things. Looking at the Farmington game, this one was kind of quick. We didn't do a lot of things great. I will say I thought Hunter Sherrill was decent on the mound for the first couple of innings. The wheels kind of fell off, and then from there it just kind of crashed, if you will. And, Isaac had our lone hit for that game. They threw some really good arms, as I said. And, once again, I think that kind of stuff's really going to prepare us down the road for when we hopefully get to the state tournament and try to make a run at those.
The encouraging thing to me through the games this past Saturday was the fact that you're playing these teams with Bentonville West, whose shortstop is committed to the Arkansas Razorbacks, and you've got their first baseman who's committed, to another place, and you've got all these college, talent level kids, and you can look at specific moments and say, if that would have happened, or if we would have just done that this much better, it could have completely changed the course of an inning, which could have completely changed the course of the game. So it was encouraging to me to see, and I think even the guys realize that, overcoming the mental side of it, but
Sure.
also just how one thing can make a big difference in the game, and how if you fix those small mistakes, then it can really benefit you down the road.
Absolutely. And I was happy to see we were able to get a few of the basketball guys in that haven't had any game experience yet. And, we saw a lot of good things from them. Obviously, there's a little rust on their, playing style or what their ability is. And we were able to kind of see that and try to work on that this week and get them ready for what's ahead.
So we were able to find time to make this podcast actually because of the fact that our game that was supposed to be scheduled for tonight, the night that we are recording this, was postponed due to weather against DeWitt. But, Coach, tell us a little bit about what we've got upcoming as we're playing, at, more larger schools and as we get into conference play.
Sure. Well, disappointed obviously with the weather tonight get a chance to play against DeWitt, who just came off their first conference win by run roll last night, Monday night. And so obviously that game's going to be moved to April, and we're thankful we're still going to get to play them. But just looking ahead, tomorrow night here at Baptist Prep, our JV team will be playing a 8-inning game against Little Rock Catholic, who's obviously a larger school. That game will start at 4 o'clock. Our plan with that was try to get the game in and allow them to have a chance to still make it to church. And then Thursday, we actually travel to JA Fair, where we will be playing Little Rock Parkview. That's now, I believe, their home field, and that's where the game's scheduled to be at. It'll be a varsity and JV, I believe, starting at 5 o'clock. It's either 4:30 or 5. I'll have to double check, but I believe it's 5. And so that's a larger school that we'll have a chance to prove ourselves to against. And then move into Friday here at Baptist Prep. We have Jacksonville, who is also a larger school, bringing their varsity and JV starting at 5 o'clock. We do know the weather Friday is supposed to be exciting. It's not a week in Arkansas if you don't experience 4 seasons. So we got 70 on Thursday, and, we got freezing snow, sleet, rain, everything on Friday. But we'll just kind of keep an eye on it. But we're looking forward to this week, some more competition of the higher level to kind of help prepare us for conference, which will be the week after.
Wouldn't be a spring sport in Arkansas if it didn't keep you on your toes. So then we move into the following week, next week here at school, where we have our first conference game away at Two Rivers, and then the gauntlet continues with Pulaski Academy and Harding Academy next Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, we're excited to see what we can do against, some teams that are ranked high in each of their classifications. I think Pulaski Academy moved up to number 4. They got several college commits plus kids with college offers to Power 5 schools that just haven't made a decision yet. And then, of course, Harding Academy, as we all know, 3A runs through Harding Academy. And so we're excited to see the standard for 3A and see where we fit with that, and see if where we're at and what we need to work on there.
So that gives you a little look into the first 5 games of the year with a 3-2 start here for the Baptist Prep baseball team, and a look into the next week or two coming up as we continue playing more difficult teams and more exciting games.
I hope so.
But the exciting thing about playing these type of games at this point in the year is knowing that they will benefit you tremendously come May, come district, come regionals, come state tournament.
Absolutely. And, a team that we have here as well, and our softball team is definitely challenging themselves, and looking forward to, I think Coach Yelvington will be on here next and hear how their season's going. If you haven't had a chance to see them yet, well, I know we went and watched them play here a while back, and they are very talented and very fun to watch, and looking forward to hearing that podcast with Coach Yelvington.
Absolutely. The game that he's mentioning that we both went to ended up being a no-hitter.
Oh.
So coming off a state championship last year, starting the season this year with multiple wins and a no-hitter. We're excited to have Coach Yelvington on here soon to dive into that a little more so that you can hear a little bit about the Baptist Prep softball team looking for a repeat state championship run. But thank you so much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify and Apple Music, we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Baptist Prep Sports Network with coaches Riley Perkins and Cody Perrin. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. In the meantime, connect with Baptist Prep on social media at Baptist Prep or online at www.baptistprep.org. Until next time, go Eagles!